1. I'd like to welcome everybody to the September 28th, 2021 meeting of the Code Enforcement and Nuisance Board. It is 4:30 and we will get started. First, we will have roll call.
Deere.
Yes.
Dearbone.
Yes.
Eggleton.
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
Tabitha, we will now have approval of our minutes from August 24th, 2021.
Motion to approve the minutes from August 24th, 2021.
Second.
Deere. Dearbone. Deere.
Yes.
Dearbone.
Yes.
Eggleton.
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
Now swear in our officers. All right. Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, thank you. We will now move into our hearing agenda. Case number 1, case 2021-2585, citation 2021-7718, 903 Broadway Avenue, owner Hunt Thomas R. Investment Properties LLC, Officer James Hetty.
With Mr. Hunt earlier today, and he notified me that he probably wasn't going to be here today. So,
All right, it stands as written, and we will move on to our next case. Case number 2, case 2021-2699, citation 2021-8132, 1153 State Street, owner Litzy Edward Lawrence III, Representative Edward Litzy, and Officer James Hetty.
good evening. Thank you. Had a complaint. This was started in May the 11th, of a fence without a certificate of appropriateness in the historic district. So in the historic district, not only do you have to have a fence permit, but you would have to go through the process of getting a certificate of appropriateness. So in June, I had drafted a notice of violation and delivered, and that notice of violation stated on there reference to the certificate of appropriateness, and also the need for the hey Brad, I can't get this to work. Push down. Okay, sorry. The fence permit from the city, and so that was the first notice of violation. And in July, the fence was still up, and so I drafted another notice of violation with this one stating, let me back up. With the first notice of violation, Mr. Litzy was in contact with our historic district individual, Monica Ramsey, and it was found that the fence is made of vinyl, which vinyl is a prohibited material for that historic district. So I drafted the next notice of violation, and that one had the zone ordinance reference to the prohibited material and to remove the fence. So in August, the fence was still up, and therefore I sent a citation with that, and that was the first citation. I talked to Mr. and Miss Litzy, and of course there's a 7-day window for appeal, but I can say as of today that they do have a certificate of appropriateness that has been issued reference to a wooden fence. So looking forward to compliance on that part, but as of today the vinyl fence is still up there on the property.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for hearing my appeal.
Swear you in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I sure do.
All right, go for it.
We're not challenging the COA. We weren't aware, so that's our fault. I knew that there was some restrictions to the historic district we bought here in December. We're pretty excited about changing the place to make it look better and pass it on to the next generation, 20 years from now. So we did a lot of landscaping, and my girlfriend and the landscaper got together, and they designed what you saw above. And part of that fencing, as you can see, there's an outer fencing area that has the bushes and shrubs and whatnot. And basically, it's almost a mirror on the inside. And so that was their design. We didn't do enough homework, apparently, to find out that you had to have a COA. I didn't think that we were breaking any citations. So as you can see, and I don't have any pictures of before and the after, but I can guarantee you the after looks a whole lot better. I'm pretty proud of what the company did and my girlfriend did as well. But anyway, so we got, so background, we both lived in Louisville. We bought in Bowling Green. We're excited about Bowling Green. I've lived in Louisville all my life, and we are very fortunate. She had a home, I have a home. My mother passed away, so all three of those homes were being sold so we can move to Bowling Green. So I believe the one in May, the citation in May, we missed. We just missed it, apparently. The one in July, we saw, we read, and we called Miss Ramsey, very nice, and just we thought at that conversation that it was kind of a paperwork issue more than it was a citation issue where you had to remove the fence. So the second one that Mr. Edding sent, I guess maybe if this is the third one, I'm losing track. But anyway, we did want to appeal that one because there's a couple of reasons. We do intend to change the fence to wood. We looked up for wrought iron, and actually we shot for aluminum at the beginning, and it's an 18-month back order. We shot for wrought iron, and it's 60% above what it originally was last year just because of the nature of the beast of what we're going through now in the society as far as materials and getting shipped in. So we did come up with wood, but we waited for the COA, and Ms. Ramsey, I talked with her today, and she actually, to her defense, was waiting. We were also talking about some paint options for the house. So we want to make sure we made a mistake once. We didn't want to do it again. So that's in question, and she's checking on that. About the design of the paint. So I talked with her today, she visited me today, and so we got the COA today. We just said, let's just make this two different, issues. One about the fence, one about the paint. So we do have the COA for today. So our plan is to get wooden fence. Right now, it looks like it's gonna take 4 to 6 weeks probably to get all the materials together, maybe a little less, but the labor is gonna be an issue as well, including the finances. We did pay for that fence, we installed it. That's our mistake, we have to eat that. But this is gonna be a little bit more expensive, so we're trying to get things together as cheap as we can. One of the things that, I worked with UPS for years, and safety is a big thing with me. And I can't say that I feel unsafe on that corner, but 2 of the bushes were already stolen. All the lights, there's lights that were in the front that we put in, they were taken. There's been trash on the corner where you can see somebody's been in that back corner, and it's kind of dark back there. So for a safety issue, if nothing else, we would like to request to keep the fence until we get the new fence at least started to be installed, especially the side, I guess it's 12th Avenue. That's the corner that people seem to congregate around and use as a place to hide and things of that nature. So you can see, thank you for switching the picture, it's at the back corner in the left. And for that reason, we would really like to keep the fence up until we at least get part of the partial installed or the full thing installed. We're guessing 60 days, it could be maybe 75. And if we don't live through our commitment as far as getting it done by that point, we'll just take the fence down and live with it as is. But we would like, if nothing else, to just get an extension. Let me just check my notes, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So anyway, a lot of this is our fault. We do travel a lot. My girlfriend travels. I'm retired from UPS. I drive her around to places. So my new career is driving Miss Daisy. So sometimes we're not there. I've got a sack of mail like this right now, just because I was in Louisville last week packing, trying to get out of Louisville and trying to get to Bowling Green. So we'll definitely take a lot of the responsibility. But we're just asking if you would, just give us an extension to replace the fence with a new fence. And like I said, mainly it's because people have been stealing things outside of the fence, not inside of the fence so far, and we would feel safer. Sometimes she is there by herself and I'm in Louisville. I guess that's about all I have.
Sir, how long of an extension do you think you need? You might have, did you say 60 days?
You said 60, I said 90. I split it in the middle at 75 is what I wrote down. But really, whatever you think is reasonable, we'll take whatever we can get. I just really don't want that fence to come down before we get another one somewhat installed, or at least a really good plan. I'd still have no labor for the fence, and I have asked around.
Eddie, but what is the stance of planning and zoning if they were to leave the fence up? Would that be something you all would be okay with, or would you prefer the fence come down now? Okay.
We've had a lot worse issues than a nice-looking fence before this board each month. I will say I am a recipient of the Historical Society because of property in it, and have been fined and have addressed those things, and I understand completely, but I also understand, I appreciate what they do, and I'm a big supporter of them because the things that they do are to protect the history of what it's all about. I think that I'd like to make a motion that we give it 60 days, leave the fence up, and come back and address it at that point in time.
I'll second.
Deere, Eggleton, Deere,
Yes.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Eggleton,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
And just to clarify, that would be the November 23rd meeting for everyone to know.
Thank you for your time. Have a good
Bowling
day.
Green. All right, we will now move on to our next case. Case number, in old business, this is case number 3. Case number 2020-2720, citations 2020-6535.2, 2020-6535.2, and 6535.4, 2020-6535.5, 2020-6535.6, 2020-6535.7, 2020-6535.8, 2020-6535.9, 4662 Russellville Road, Lot 2-2, owner Vita Nova LLC, respondent Nerman Omanovich, and Officer Courtney Howell.
Good evening. Okay, I went out to the site a week ago today, on the 21st of September, to inspect progress. The following items were observed, and I emailed those to the engineer, the contractor, and the owner of Vita Nova. The parking lots, concrete curb and flume have not been installed. Those should be, the curbing around to the gravel, and then the concrete flume here in the corner. From that corner to the riprap and the water quality unit. Let's see, the gravel is also contained by that curb. The curb and the flume are going to direct the stormwater to the water quality unit, and that is why they are necessary in this case. The inlet pipe I did find for the water quality unit does not have a restrictor plate or trash guard, and that's this pipe right here that goes to the water quality unit. The restrictor plate is there to throttle the rate of flow to the water quality unit, and the trash guard helps to prevent the inlet from clogging. Once the project is at final grade, it will also need to be stabilized within 14 days to prevent erosion. We already do have some erosion on the site. In closing, at the July Code Enforcement Board meeting, the board was assured by the appellant that this project will be complete by the September 28th meeting. The case was tabled until today. At the August meeting, the board tabled the remaining citations associated with this case, and the appellant's attorney said that they had no reason to believe that this project wouldn't be complete by the September 28th meeting. Items completed as of today: the berm has been built, the water quality unit has been installed. Items which remain to be completed: a restrictor plate and trash guard need to be added to the water quality unit. Curbing and concrete flume have not been constructed. Fencing and landscaping are not complete. The site needs final stabilization to prevent erosion, and an as-built will need to be submitted to Public Works when everything is complete. Do you have any questions for me?
Can you give a percentage of the entire project that we thought would be completed by September 28th? So what's your best guess as the percentage of the project that's in compliance?
It's not so much the percentage of the project that's not in compliance. It's that without the concrete curbing and that flume, that's part of what's going to keep them in compliance for their water quality. It's going to carry that stormwater to their water quality unit directly so that it's not being shed out to the grass in the basin to sit and infiltrate without first passing through that water quality unit. As far as a percentage done, I'm not really sure what the percentage would be. They have their gravel lot done, but that's not anything that we needed for their stormwater basin quantity or quality. And then the berm and the water quality unit.
So can I ask it this way? And tell me if I'm wrong, but without the remaining things that need to be completed, what's been done doesn't really, and I was going to use the.
It's not going to serve its full purpose.
I was going to say hold the water, but that's just bad pun. But yeah, so it doesn't happen without the rest of these things being done, so.
Yeah, it's not going to serve its full purpose, no.
Okay. How long would, based off of what has been done, how long would it take to, in your estimation, to complete the rest of the project?
I asked the project manager that today, and they were unable to give me a set amount of working days before this meeting. I don't work in concrete. I really couldn't say.
Which of these items has been completed since last meeting, last month?
The berm has been built, and the water quality unit has been received and installed. This was photos from August. This was the day of the last meeting. So we've got the gravel lot, a lot of disturbance, berm not complete, no erosion controls, no sediment controls, excuse me. So berm and water quality unit have been installed since August 24th.
So, I need to ask the board, these fines, if my memory's correct, these fines have been a summation of all, is that correct? And that's where we are today at 22,000, is that correct?
Yes, this case started with courtesy notice in, I believe it was the end of June of 2020. And then I don't believe the first citation was issued until October. I would have to look back to be sure. So I sent the email with my unfinished items September 21st. However, nobody responded to that email. It was a week ago today. Until 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I received a call from Infinity Pipeline project manager asking if I could, requested a meeting for today. I granted that request. I met with Seth and Terry of Infinity Pipeline, Nerman, this morning on site. The purpose of that meeting was so that they could request to alter the plans which were submitted in July. So they wanted to actually do without the curb and the flume, but I did explain the importance of that. I responded in email as to why those were important and that you couldn't change them. You have to build it to the permitted plans, but once again, we've waited till the day of the hearing to address some things, or they did.
Representative?
Chairman Dearbone, Tad Pardue again on behalf of Vita Nova and its owner, Nerman Omanovich. It's good to see you all again. This is becoming a regular occurrence. Let me first off say on behalf of Nerman and his business, we appreciate very much the patience that this board has given us, the time and consideration it has given us. There are some things that we would like to address this afternoon in response to some of Ms. Howe's comments. And like I did 2 months ago when I said you're better off hearing from an expert, not from me, I have with me tonight Seth Pay of Infinity Pipeline, which is the contractor on this project. Just want to ask him a few questions and have him explain a few things to you, and also allow you all the opportunity to ask Seth some questions as well. So if I can call Seth up to the podium. And Seth, Chairman Dearbone will swear you in real quick.
Hey, how are you?
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do.
All right, thank you.
Seth, can you tell them your name, please?
Seth Pay with Infinity Pipeline,
And your title or position with Infinity Pipeline is what?
project manager.
Okay. And you're familiar with the stormwater retention project that has been ongoing at the Vita Nova property on Russellville Road?
Correct.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Seth. As of today, September the 28th, 2021, is it your position that this project, this stormwater retention project, is substantially complete?
Correct.
Okay. And when we say substantially complete, Seth, is it your position on behalf of Infinity Pipeline that this stormwater system is retaining and keeping the amount of stormwater runoff that it was designed to retain and keep?
Correct. On these set of plans, in the design process, whenever Thad designs a set of plans, the whole purpose is to, as if a raindrop falls on the farthermost property corner, on the farthest, there in the gravel parking lot, is to get it to the water quality unit so that it can treat it and then release it to the outlet end.
Is that
Yes.
happening
Yes.
as this project is currently constructed?
It is.
Is there any doubt in your mind about that?
No.
Okay. Now, we've heard some comments about a concrete curb and a flume. Let me ask you this. Would the existence of that concrete curb and flume do anything to increase or decrease the amount of runoff that the system is currently handling?
No, it is still taking the same amount of flow as it was designed for.
Okay. Except for what would the purpose of the concrete flume and curb?
Well, if you were to put in a concrete flume and a curb going around the perimeter, one thing that's happening right now is you're having sheet flow off of that parking lot onto a grass strip, which kind of filters out your sediment once it gets to the water quality unit. If you were to put a concrete curb in there and a flume in the corner of the property and take it to that water quality unit, there will be some erosion problems within the stone parking lot. Nerman would have to be out there, or us as a contractor would have to be out there refilling stone, cleaning out that flume with the stone in there, and having to place it back.
So, just so we all understand, and that the board has an opportunity to understand, is what you're saying that the concrete flume and curb, if it existed, would still handle the same water, it would simply funnel it to a restricted area?
Correct, yeah. It would basically create what they call a concentrated flow to one area.
But the system as it currently is constructed is already handling the same amount of water.
Right.
And it's flowing or directing the water to the water quality unit.
Exactly, yes.
Is it, or do you have an opinion as to whether you believe the concrete curb and flume would actually not benefit this property in terms of stormwater runoff?
I mean, as far as the curb being there, it really doesn't serve any purpose, you know, except for holding the rock in. It doesn't help water quality purposes. It doesn't help out with any, you know, anything to do with water quality. It doesn't provide an advantage for.
Does your company have the capability of constructing that concrete curb and flume
We do, yes,
if it was necessary?
correct,
But
yes.
what you're saying is even if you constructed it, it's not going to change the fact that the project as it exists today is handling all the runoff that it is supposed to handle?
Correct.
Were there any other factors that you all, as a company, took into consideration in not constructing the concrete flume and curb as it exists today?
Just that it didn't serve a true
Is
purpose.
there some thought given or discussion about possible future expansion of the business?
Yeah, Nerman does have possible expansions there to the east and the west of the property, so that if that curb was put in, it would basically have to be removed, demoed, and then parking and/or building space would be constructed in those areas.
And I think it was Commissioner Dearbone that asked a question of Ms. Howell about, if I recall correctly, whether the stormwater system as it's constructed without the curb is functioning properly, and I believe the response was it's not, or it's not handling the appropriate amount of runoff. Do you agree with the answer that was given to that question earlier?
No, I believe what is designed on the set of civil plans, that same amount of runoff is making its way to the water quality unit.
And do you have any doubt about that, being one of the individuals that was assigned to and responsible for this project?
I do not.
Then there was there were a couple of other issues dealing with a restrictor plate and a trash guard. Those would be, if I'm not mistaken, fairly minor and quick fixes.
Oh,
Is that-
yeah. Yeah, we just need some kind of detail by the engineer or the city on kind of exactly what they're looking for.
In a way, you kind of answered my next question, and is if it's somewhat of a minor or a quick fix, why hadn't it been done yet?
Just waiting on a detail or drawing or picture or something, just so that we can get something fabricated
Know the
and
right,
an idea.
know the right thing to
Yes.
have manufactured to fit the project.
Exactly.
And is the lack of a trash guard or restrictor plate in any way inhibiting the amount of runoff that's being handled by the system as it's constructed?
I mean, it filters, it will filter trash, sediment, rock, but as far as inhibiting stormwater runoff, no.
Doesn't affect the function of the system as a whole,
No.
as long as you keep it clean?
As long as you keep it clean. Now, if trash does get in there, yes, it can inhibit it, yes.
But once, as I understand it, once you get some sort of specifications
Yes, we can put that on there.
in
We
a
can have that on
relatively short
site.
period of time?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have for you, Seth.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
You might want to stay there in case any of the board members.
I have a question, please.
sir.
Has the water runoff been assessed at this point?
I mean, as far as assessed, we have not went out and done the final as-built as the city has required.
I think the question was asked, does it work? And it's my understanding is yes, that it works, but it needs to be assessed to see if it works or not.
I mean, with the amount of rainfall that we've gotten here lately, I mean, as a company, we have not assessed it. The city may have assessed it, but as a company, no, we have not.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like, and this is just from what I'm hearing, that the work was done, but there was no real conversation with the city to compare notes to see if what they're wanting versus what you're doing match up. Is that correct? It sounds like you've done it, and now it's just kind of, okay, here's what we've done, and here's what we believe versus what the city is saying. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, whenever we went out there and constructed, we didn't, we didn't have intentions of having the curb on there, or placing it out in in our scope of work.
Now, were you aware that that's what the city was asking? So that's kind of the second part of my question. Based off what the city is asking and saying this is what you need to be in compliance, was there ever a conversation of this is what the city is asking, whether we believe it's, prudent or not? Either let's have a conversation with the city or let's try to do what the city is asking. So that's the second part of the question.
No, sir, I never had any conversation with the
Okay,
city.
and well, that may be for you, or that may be for Nerman, but somebody.
I think that conversation was had this morning.
Yeah.
When
yeah,
there was
whenever
an
we met
on-site
Courtney
meeting.
on site.
The day of?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Could I ask to back up to the photo that showed the gravel adjacent to the grassy area? Okay, you're back. Okay, so I guess I'm questioning the proposed location of the curb. Is part of that to prevent the erosion of the gravel into the grassy area?
I mean, that would be a question, I guess, for the city. I mean, as far as stormwater purposes and water quality, no. But if that's something that the city requires, then, I mean, that's just kind of how I took it as I was, out in construction.
But I would think with some of the significant rainfall that we've had recently, that we would have, you could have observed if that indeed happened. There would have been enough rainfall in a short amount of time to create a flow that might wash the gravel into the
Correct.
grassy area.
Correct, yes. The big rainfalls that we've had, if it was going to wash, it would have washed by now. And to my knowledge, there's been very small erosion problems, and any kind of erosion problems, we're willing to get out there and fix those problems and, have a stabilization of the site.
Seth, you have no problem saying that the Infinity is capable of and willing to construct the curb and the flume?
Correct,
If
yes,
it is-
we are willing and able to construct the curb.
Just didn't feel it was necessary in order for the system to function properly?
Correct, yes.
Can you describe the work that you've done?
Yeah, so we have actually went in there and we have stripped all the topsoil, and then we have placed number 23 stone to create additional parking for Nerman. And then we have went in there and created a berm along the back property line and placed a water quality unit. And then we've also cut in ditches around the parking lot to direct the stormwater to that water quality unit where it is treated and then through the outfall pipe.
You're done?
Yep.
This is a complete job.
As far as final erosion, no, we're not fully complete. We need to go out there, seed and straw the site, and do some final touch-up.
If I could, Seth, one more question. If Mr. Peterson stands up in a minute and says that the parking lot, a gravel parking lot, is required, again, to have a concrete curb, same question, your company has no problem with and is fully capable of constructing a concrete curb?
Yes,
It
sir.
is required by some other
Yes, sir.
code or regulation in the city?
Yes, sir, we can do it.
So as the project manager, you had a scope of work to do,
Yes, sir.
and it didn't include any kind of curbing?
No, with the owner, no, we did not have any curbing.
So did anybody explain to you exactly what the city was looking for, or did they just say, here's the project, go do it?
I mean, yeah, whenever we got the set of plans, sat down, went through it, and I did not price any curb to the owner, yes.
Is there a code regarding the curb for work like this? I'm not an engineer and far from it, but I'm asking that question.
I do not know the code, so I would need someone that, okay.
Why don't we address the issue of the code?
I believe what Mr. Peterson's going to say is that not necessarily as a...
to speak for myself.
as a stormwater matter, but as a
If
gravel
we could
parking
let
lot.
him actually
Sure, that'd be
speak.
fine.
So I guess it's just in general, there is an approved set of plans that goes through what we call a comprehensive development review process. And that's reviewed by the city of Bowling Green, it's reviewed by all public and private utilities as well as our office. And that approved set of plans is what we expect to see when any of us go out to that site. If you change the plans out there or don't do something on a particular site, then that's how we end up here. And I think that's been done in this case. So while we can have someone that's perfectly qualified and can speak well above any of my knowledge on any of these systems, what's approved is what's approved, and it's what has to follow unless a new design is submitted and approved. So I don't doubt anything that was said tonight, but I'm not so sure this gentleman, sorry, I forgot your name, Mr. Seth, is perfectly capable of designing a stormwater system that will take care of this water. I'm not so confident that he has all of the information of the approved set of plans because not all of the concrete is out there for the parking area that is done by plans, and if we have to issue a citation, we'll do that. So I'm not sure he's aware of all that stormwater runoff from that additional concrete and parking area that must be placed. Must. It's a requirement. It's the code. Additionally, we mentioned the requirement of the curbing around the gravel or some sort of containment system to contain the gravel to direct the water to the stormwater system. Again, maybe stealing some of Matt's thunder here, but it's a system, so it all has to be in place to work as a system. So any of these plans that get altered must go back for approval. It's the only way that we can all assure that the community is getting the quality infrastructure and the protections designed by these ordinances. We don't try to be unnecessarily hard on anyone, but we've tried for well over a year now to get this site into compliance. Stormwater has taken the lead. Engineering department has taken the lead on this, but there's still plenty of deficiencies out there beyond just this stormwater system. We're missing landscaping, we're missing curbing, we're missing concrete parking areas and travelways. We're missing quite a few things. So all of that works together. It's reviewed together as one whole plan, one whole site, because it all works together. Even the stormwater amount of runoff depends on the landscaping being in place and the amount of open space and all of that good stuff. The amount of gravel that's allowed versus impervious surfaces such as concrete. So all of that works together. That's why we have to have everything constructed per those approved plans, or submit us an alternate plan, and we're happy to review those plans and make any concessions we need to. None of that's been done. It's all been after the fact, and we keep having to come here and explain a whole bunch of this stuff to you all that is honestly, hard to understand. I mean, we've all got thick books to follow on these codes. So they admitted they don't know the code. Matt does. We do. Courtney does. So I just felt I needed to say something along those lines to bring context to this situation.
So all of that, when you approved this plan, had the concrete, it had the curbs, it had everything in it. So everybody knew on the front end a year or so ago what was expected. Is that correct?
That is the goal, yes.
So I'll give you, since you're representing Mr. Omanovich, 2 months ago when you guys first came up before us, we pretty much point blank said the contractor who he was working with at the time failed him.
It was the engineer.
The engineer, excuse me,
Yes, sir.
whoever failed him. Since then, it doesn't seem like anybody else, whether it's on him, whether it's on you, whoever it is, has done much to educate themselves or to get this project to where it should be. I'm struggling with where has where has this project gone? Because it seems cut and dry, pretty simple, what needs to be done, what should have been done. Infinity did what was told to them. Who did not tell them, this is what the city wants, this is what needs to be done? That's what I'm struggling with. And who is the person now who has not told that or gotten that done? That somebody needs to explain to me where the ball dropped, who dropped the ball, because right now all I see is a drop ball. So
I don't know the answer to that question, Chairman. Perhaps that is something that Mr. Omanovich.
you're his attorney, right? So
Can
you
answer.
should be helping him to make sure that the ball does not drop, correct?
I have been in constant dialogue with Mr. Omanovich. He
And the city
understood
as well?
what the board's directive was in June and again in July. And we heard a couple of hours of testimony in June, primarily from the engineer, who described that this was a process that was drawn out in large part because of factors outside of Mr. Omanovich's control. The engineer acknowledged and admitted that much of the delay was on his part, but said time and time again that Mr. Omanovich, as the business owner, was ready to move forward with this from day one. He was just trying to get a set of plans approved. The issue at that time was that the project had essentially not begun. That was in June, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. The concern of the board at that time was we don't have any infrastructure on the property to prevent stormwater from running off onto other properties. What you have heard tonight is there's been a considerable amount of work that's been completed. The contractor gave you his position that it is substantially complete and that it is functioning, albeit there are still items that have not been completed according to the plans, and we will concede and admit that. But the primary issue of is there a stormwater retention system that is handling runoff such that it doesn't drain onto adjacent properties, that question has been answered and that problem has been solved.
Well, let me counter that. This is a board of compliance. All we're looking for is compliance. To my knowledge, and I'm not going to speak for the rest of them, but to me, what has been asked has not been complied with, and that's what our job is to look at, compliance. So what problem, I'm trying to think of what the problem may have been solved to a point or in a way, but does it comply with what the city has asked? And that's the question I keep asking, and I still have yet to get an answer on.
I think the answer is no, it doesn't comply 100%. It complies substantially. I think, Seth, do you have an opinion on percentage-wise the project's completion compared to the plans?
Compared to the plans, I would probably say
80%?
What did we ask for 2 months ago? What did we ask for?
You asked that it be finished, and I
And
acknowledge that.
complied with?
Yes.
Okay.
You asked that the project be completed and that it serve the purpose for which it was designed. We have met one of those. It serves the purpose for which it was designed, but it is only 80% complete, according to Mr. Pay. And we're not hiding behind that this evening. I'm not going to attempt to say things to deceive you, but that is where we are. And I believe, speaking for Mr. Omanovich, his primary concern was being able to come before you all as a board tonight and tell you all, I'm meeting my legal obligation of retaining any stormwater such that I don't cause adjacent properties to be affected more than they were before this project existed. And he can say that unequivocally this evening.
If I may just say a couple of things.
To come up so you can be sworn in, sir.
I'm going to swear you in.
Swear the truth, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. You tell me your
I
name.
just
and-
want to say a couple of things. First of all, about the trees. I paid $6,000, and there's over 28 trees on the whole front side of my property. There's over $29,000 worth of fence material that's laying there in my property, waiting for them to finish so I can start putting it up. This is privacy fence with the bottom, I don't know what you call the thing on the bottom, but it's a really heavy-duty privacy fence that you cannot see through. $30,000 worth of that. When you say what we've talked about here 2 months ago, we've talked about the water retention area. Tad himself told me, not him, the engineer, told me many times that we don't need the curb, that he's going to remove the curb from the plans. I cannot read the plans. I don't, most of the times, I see a picture, where's what? I don't know what's what, and I don't think I should know. But as far as the engineer, he told me many times the curb is not necessary. And that's why I've put about fence, 800 feet of fence, privacy fence, is $30,000. I have the receipts, I have people have worked on it already, and they were just waiting for them to finish so we can work out the rest. There's trees, there's everything. The way some of these guys make it seem like we're one of the companies who got an occupancy permit. Most companies don't even have that, whether they're working or not. Everything else, the brick, 30%, we've done 80. You know, I keep saying that I'm proud of myself for doing things by the book and doing it right, not taking shortcuts on any of this stuff. And it's hard to sit here and listen to these guys telling me I didn't do this, I'm not trying to do this. Well, none of that is true. I'm trying to do it all. This invoice is $70,000 and I'm gonna pay him, the bank is taking 2 months, I'm gonna pay him out of pocket. It doesn't matter. Same, they're saying there is no landscape. There is. There's lots of trees there. There's privacy fence, there's everything. And he forgets to mention, if you put a curb on the 2 or 3 sides of the gravel, the water will push the rocks, the gravel, it'll push it to the area that we're talking about, to where the pump is, because you're gonna close the water, but it's already, the way it's made, and I invite all of you guys to come out there after the rain. It's working perfectly. We've seen it several times. The water lands right where it's supposed to be, and then it starts getting sucked through the pipe thing. But if you put a curb, it'll take all the gravel in there, and you just made a bigger problem. There is no need for curb. The whole land, they made the land so it leans, it's whatever you call it, the level. It levels down towards the thing.
Sir,
It's all done for a reason.
Let me ask just a real simple question. You had the plans approved. Did you give those plans to your contractor?
Well, the engineer sends those out. I don't personally.
It doesn't matter. Did you give them to somebody that's in charge of this project for you? That has curbs, that has concrete, that has landscaping, whatever the city gave to you and approved through that process. Did you give those plans to someone and say, get this done?
I didn't give them to anybody, no.
Excuse me?
No, I did not give them to anybody. The engineer sends them out to multiple people. I'm one of the receivers. I keep it. I don't give it to anybody or talk to anybody.
Did you have a person that was the manager for this job for you? That was managing this job, a contractor or someone that was overseeing this?
Sir.
Was that you?
Guess so, yeah.
Were you did you sub this out, subcontract these parts out?
I don't understand.
Okay, let's say the gravel part. Did you hire somebody, an individual, to do that gravel, or did you have somebody in charge of that to do that for you?
No, I talked to Darren with Infinity.
Okay. Thank you.
Question back to code about the curb. Is that a code requirement, or is it a requirement in this case because it was on the approved set of plans?
I believe it was on the set of plans, and Tad, the engineer, said multiple times he will remove it because it's not necessary. So I don't know.
Nerman, let me ask you this question. If there is a requirement that a concrete curb be constructed, do you have any problem having that type of structure, a concrete curb, placed where it's required on the property?
No, I don't have any problem to do anything that they want me to do.
Well, then let me ask you this question. Well, why wasn't it done initially? Because that was already on the set of plans. And to what it sounds
As
like,
I know, it was-
well, to what it sounds like today, that was not taking off of the plans. And
As I
from
thought it
earlier,
was.
the conversation was, there was a conversation today, but that sounds like probably for the first conversation y'all have had in a while. So that makes it sound like it's backtracking to cover something that was missed, that wasn't done initially.
That's the thing, you mentioned, today. Today, we talked about the curb. Nobody talked about the curb 2 months ago when we did this. Nobody mentioned curb or nothing like that.
But it was a
They-
part
they
of the
told
whole
us-
plan, was it not?
They told us do the water retention, whatever the thing is called. We did the whole thing. We did it in less time. I paid $10,000 for a unit. We installed it. It works great. Now, we're talking about a curb. Why didn't they say this 2 months ago? You need to do this and this and this.
Well, you
But
could,
not
you
because we
could say
did.
the same about, what you're saying now. Why didn't you have a problem with the curb the last time you were here?
I was told it was gonna be removed from the plan because it's not necessary. Thad with Landmark Engineering told me multiple times, not once, many
So
times.
basically, you had somebody outside of the city tell you that it didn't need to be there.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that answers a
Which is
lot.
engineer that keeps up sending the plans, and they keep talking about it. I don't understand much of the lingo, and much less their plans. So they talk to Tad Engineering, and, I'm also the person on the list, but I don't understand none of this stuff.
Well, sir, with the fact that you have a vine of $22,000 sitting on your head, if it was me, I would be asking the city directly. I wouldn't talk to somebody who is not intimately involved with this. You have 3 or 4 people, even just within this room, that could tell you, okay, this needs to be done. Even if you don't think you're skimping a corner by not putting
That's what I'm
something in, these people could tell you, no, you need to have this. And the fact that you still did not go to them is a big concern. A year in and $22,000 later, you're still not taking the advice or the counsel of the people that should be the ones who are helping you get into compliance. That's kind of the big thing that has not happened.
I don't think, first of all, it's a year, and it's been like 2 months. And I keep saying, we can go back and forth. I did not know. And when you say they told me, what they said to be done, we were here, they told us what to do, and we went and did it. And now that we did it, they found something else. If you told me everything to do, I would have done it all. I didn't know that there needs to be a curb, because
Excuse me, are you saying that they altered the plans? The city altered the plans on
No,
you?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying nobody talked about curb 2 months ago when we were here.
But is it not part of the whole big plan that was initially sent out to you? And if I'm correct, it was a year ago, basically, or rough abouts, that it was part of one big plan. Yes, we did talk a lot about storm water 2 months ago, but that didn't mean that the entirety of the project didn't have to happen. We were only saying, don't worry about that, take care of this one thing. It was part of the bigger picture of get everything done, especially or including this. And that's again where it comes back to who are you talking to or not talking to. People here that could have said, okay, make sure your stormwater's taken care of, but don't forget about the curb. Don't forget about these other pieces that will bring it into full compliance. So who was that person who was counseling you as opposed to the people in here who probably could have been and should have been counseling? That's, again, what I'm going back to. Nobody's given me an answer.
I keep saying it.
So it's the engineer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, does anybody?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Well, wait, I still didn't get an answer to my question. Is the curb code, or are we discussing it as a necessity because it was on the approved plans?
I believe because it was on the plans, but
Okay.
I guess they'll tell you differently.
So it's code, it has to be done. It was on the original plans, and it has not been done at this point.
Businesses, by the way,
So my point along the way was, if you're given the original plans to do this, and Nerman, I guess it's already been said, but This 22,000 really does, it does bother me because it's a summation of a total. And if it had been me, I'll just tell you, I would have had somebody out there taking care of it. And I'm sorry that we're at this point, but we are at this point, and it hadn't been completed yet. So therefore, I'm willing to make a motion that we uphold the citation and fine of $22,000. Let's see, I'd like to make a motion to uphold citation, fees, and fines in the amount of $22,000.
Second.
Deere, Dearbone, Deere,
Yes.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Eggleton,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
All right, we will now move to new business, which is case number 4, case number 2021-1944, 1225 Old Barren River Road, owner Frank Lee and Herman Ray Waters, officer Mo Hiller.
This case is the result of a roaming inspection conducted on 6/4 of 2021. This has been a bit of a nuisance property for a while, and we've been trying to get it cleaned up. Some other issues, some zoning issues have been cleaned up. The owners, okay, so the violations include a vacant and not secured building, junk and scrap metal, accumulation of construction, demolition or landscape debris, dilapidated structure, both the outbuildings, and there's a junk mobile or manufactured home, and there was tires stored at the property. So the NOV was sent on 6/4 with a reinspection date of 6/14. Like I said, this has been a nuisance property, and Mr. James Hetty has worked on with this property, and I thought maybe he could have some contact information. One of the listed owners is deceased, and the other I've just had a really hard time trying to get hold of. So I called him to see if he had any contact with the owners, and he gave me a phone number of one of the family members of one of the owners, but I was never able to make any contact with that. So on 6/16, I failed the inspection and posted a citation on the property, and then sent the citation to the PVA owner address. On 6/28, I failed the next inspection and posted a citation on the property. During this time, trying to make what calls I could, and just couldn't find anybody that would have anything to do it. The citation, when I posted the second citation, when I posted the third citation, the second citation was still up there, so apparently nobody was going to the property. I sent another text to James Hetty to see if to make sure I had the right contact. I also, just in personal life, know a woman that had the same last name. So I just asked her if she was any relation. She did have a relationship with the gentleman who is deceased, and just doesn't know the other person. So there was no hope of getting it there. So on 7/15, I failed the inspection, posted the citation, and you can see the condition. This is the condition, the current condition. It just hasn't changed at all. In fact, if anything, it's gotten worse. There have been 7 code compliance cases in the last 4 years at this property. There's been 3 code compliance cases on this property this year alone. This case and plus 2 grass cases. As of this writing, there has been no improvements on the property. The case has been open for 116 days.
So, Mo, have you or have you not had conversation with the owner?
See, the one is deceased and the other is completely incommunicado. I just can't find them, and no other family members seem to be, because this happens a lot of times, and we can just find another family member to take up the case. And at this time, I just haven't found, I've checked through his obituary to see other family members mentioned, things like that, to try and just get hold of somebody, and there hasn't been.
So if there's no other person that we can connect with, who would take on the fine if we do the per day fine, or where would that run?
Basically, what'll happen is it'll be leaned against the property, and then after it tips the scales enough that the city can foreclose on the property, then we would sell it at master commissioner sale, clear the lot, and then turn it over to an investor. There is a possibility that we could abate some of these through self-help, as far as securing vacant structures, mowing the grass, removing things as we normally would, which would still be leaned against the property, but at least get it sanitary, safe, secure, and clean in the meantime, while it goes through the lengthy foreclosure process. But that would be the end, not goal, but that would kind of be the end game, based on Mo's exhaustive search of trying to find anyone that's related to it. Because once it goes to the foreclosure, the legal process notifies all the heirs and anyone who could potentially have an interest at all in the property, once it gets to that point.
Might be one other avenue, because we don't know who this person's heirs are, and we don't know who to go to. The court system can set up in the state, they have what's called a public administrator, and that takes over the estate as a personal representative. That person, he or she, and normally it's a local attorney that's appointed to it, could take over the property and have it sold, at that point. And that quite frankly, may be a quicker process, but those are the two options that you have. We don't see it frequently, but Bowling Green's gotten so much larger that we've begun to see more. Louisville actually has a special office of public administrators for probate cases, just because there's so many situations like this, and I think we're about to get there.
So I guess my question to my colleagues, what would a fine do if we don't know who to assess?
Does it just start the process? Is that more or less to start the process?
I think so.
Okay.
That's the way that we've always used it in the past, to start this process of.
My question, Roderick, is that still an opportunity we can use if not all of the heirs are dead and one of them is just not reachable, or is that only an opportunity if everyone?
Oh, it's an opportunity whether all the heirs are alive. It puts someone in charge really to dispose of this property, because right now nobody can. That's
Is there harm in assessing or requesting the per day fine if we still go that route?
Absolutely not. I'd do both.
Okay.
just that way.
If I could, I'm sorry. There was 3 brothers that I know of. I've got an open case on this that started last July. And it's Frank and Herman Waters was the 2 brothers that owned the property. Mr. Frank passed away, and so it's Herman now. And Herman, I have hand-delivered the notice of violations. I know one time out there, he was living in that little mobile home. We went through requested a per day back in probably May or April earlier this year, and so it went through the 60-day per day fine reference to that mobile home that they haven't moved. Since that time, the older brother, Henry, had contacted me, and he was going to work towards compliance. This was during the 60-day per day portion of that request. He was going to work towards removing the mobile home, not all the issues that Mo had. I didn't know that she had a case going till today I saw this, but or earlier this week when I saw that. However, I have not been able to get back in contact with Mr. Henry Waters, the older brother. When I call him on the phone, it goes straight to the number you've called, is not accepting calls. I think it's the automated that I get. So I don't know if he blocked my number, maybe I can try a different number, calling him, see if I get through.
That's the same thing I get.
Yes, but that's the number that Mo had mentioned in her case summary. But Herman, the guy that owns the place, he was out there on that property. I don't know. That's been a while now. So the two brothers, Herman and Henry, still live around here in Bowling Green somewhere. So I was going to approach, because I still have an open case on this, to see about maybe next month or some other time frame of per day, until I saw that Mo's got this case going on too. But it is an ongoing eyesore for those neighbors that live around there. And I'll dig in and see if I can find that Henry Waters, the older brother, that handles it for Herman, the younger one that owns that.
That was the, when I called you for a phone number, that's what you said was,
Mhm.
that it was his phone number. So I've called that number numerous times, and it's just not.
Sure, it's the same thing that I'm getting to. So I don't know if he's blocked it or what, but that's the way I left this a couple months ago, that I talked to him, trying to get him to resolve it. And so I need to look back into my part of it on that case, but it might help out with yours.
Just a reminder to the board also that the staff request tonight is for authorization to issue the per-day fine. It doesn't mean that it automatically starts tonight if you were to vote for that. So it basically just gives Mo the ability to then issue a per-day fine. If we are exploring some of these other avenues and can avoid doing that, we certainly would. But it avoids us having to come back and ask for it at the next meeting or down the road, just to clarify.
I make a motion to authorize staff to issue.
Yes, sir. If you'll come up and address, and I'll swear you in. Do you-
My name is,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
My name is Charles Scott. I am a longtime property owner that's about a block from this. First, I'd like to express my appreciation to Mo and Mr. Hetty here, because they have done anything and everything to work with these folks, and they just won't listen. The only thing that has gotten the attention of these folks is when Mr. Hetty asked you folks a few months back to assess a per day. That's when the older brother showed some strong concern to see if he could remedy this. As Mo says, and as James says, this has been an eyesore to us for many years. These pictures do not do this property any justice. Something needs to be done. We, folks like myself that have owned property 40 years, and we spend our money and our time and our effort, even at my age, to keep our property maintained. Why should we have to put up with this? There's rules for everybody. And the only thing that gets the attention of these folks is to cause them to write a check. So please, do something. Thank you.
We appreciate your comments. Thank you. And I'd make a motion to authorize staff to issue a per-day fine citation in the amount of $100 to run for a period of 60 days.
Second.
Holman, LaPointe, Deere,
Yes.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Eggleton,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
LaPointe.
All right, we will now move to the comments and announcements portion of our meeting, and we want to welcome our new code official, Mrs. Heather Lashley. So Heather, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself, say anything? The mic's yours if you want to say anything. If not, that's fine. The microphone.
And, just like I told Brad, I'm looking forward to my job with this great team. I can already tell they're wonderful and just great to work with already. But, my big goal, like I told Brad, is just to help Bowling Green be the best that it can be. I mean, this is my home too. And, I like to see the best for our community and for everybody that lives here. So I look forward to getting to be a part of that.
Welcome.
Council, do we need to go into closed session, or are we, okay, so we can adjourn? Okay.
Well, I think we got something else on the agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to actually close to go into a working session, and we'll do that training that we had discussed a month or two ago. So it will end the video, and then we can still meet.
Okay, so do I need to make any type of?
We need a motion for that, yeah.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Eggleton, Lapointe, Deere,
Yes?
Deerbone,
Yes.
Eggleton.
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
Lapointe,